For years, I relied on a simple weekly diary. But after the company discontinued it in 2023, I found myself in a bit of a mess. My current black diary is practical, yes. I've even started designing my own calendar pages for it, but it's bursting at the seams and leaves me feeling dissatisfied. At the same time, my junk journal feels alive, joyful and creative, a place where I can capture moments of my life. So today I'm starting something new, a junk journal planner. This video is the beginning of a new series where I experience with creating a planner that isn't just about schedules and lists, but about well-being, creativity and living with intention. And I want to share not just the making of it, but also my psychological insights that shaped my decision. So, if you are curious about how to combine the practicality of a planner with the creativity of a junk journal, you are exactly in the right place. Hello, my friend. I'm happy that you decided to join me in what feels hopefully a new chapter in my life and maybe even in yours. The starting point for this series was sheer frustration. I had lost a system that worked for me and nothing out there was quite fitting. I need something structured enough to keep me on track, but flexible enough to carry my life as it is, like messy, layered, and at times unpredictable. Maybe you know that feeling too of trying to fit yourself into tools or systems that don't actually fit your life. So what I would like is simple and complicated at the same time, a planner that helps me organize my days, but that feels like a space of rest and creativity. Not just a productivity machine, but a companion, something I can open and feel both held and inspired. My hope is not just for pages and boxes, it's for a daily rhythm that supports my well-being on all the different levels. So let's start with a cover for a brand new junk journal planner. I have this beautiful fabric here called Treasure Hunt, and I got it in Europe while I was visiting my mom in Germany. Unfortunately, this company only delivers in Europe. I will put a link down below, but I'm sure you can find fabric that you really, really love and that already speak to you. When I thought about making this planner, I encountered a recurring problem. Whenever we talk about planners, the conversation usually turns towards efficiency, optimization, and doing more. But as a psychotherapist, I know that's often the very thing that burns us out. We create systems that pressure us instead of support us. We try to control life instead of making space for life to unfold. So the challenge is, how do I design a planner that is useful but not punishing? Structured but still playful. That's the experiment I'm starting here. And for the cover, I'm starting by cutting down the cardboard into 4 pieces. A front cover, a back cover, and 2 strips for the spine. The covers are sized just a little bigger than my folded A4 paper. That little bit of extra space makes such a difference. It means the pages can sit comfortably inside without sticking out or getting bent. If you are working with a different size, you can simply measure the folded height and add ½ an inch on the top and on the bottom for the eyelets that we later attach. And to the width of your paper, add about 1/8 of an inch on both sides. That way the cover holds the signature nicely. The spines are 1½ inch wide. I will cut 2 of them, stack them together and glue them on top of each other for strength. I want the spine wide enough to hold 2 signatures, so I can work in 1 signature while keeping another waiting. You could make your spine wider if you want more space, or narrower if you want to keep things very slim. And as I hold these 4 pieces in my hands, thinking about the cover. I like to think about the cover as a container, not just a container for paper, but actually a container for my life. It's going to hold the things that matter to me, the scraps of days and weeks, and the notes, the reminders, the moments of beauty. A good container in life does 2 things. It's strong enough to support us and flexible enough to move with us. And that's what I want for this cover. Something sturdy enough to last, but not so rigid that it breaks when life bends. In therapy, we sometimes talk about a holding environment. Spaces where you can feel both safe and free at the same time. That's what I'm aiming for here. This cover is the holding environment for my months ahead. And as a next step, I'm connecting the 3 pieces by covering the outside and inside with fabric. I chose this fabric because it feels alive to me, colorful, soft, with a bit of texture. And I find there's something grounding about working with fabric. It brings warmth and softness to my planner. And it turns a purely functional cover into something you want to hold, something that feels good in your hands. And I think that's important, not just in crafting, but in how we build systems for our lives. So often we focus only on function. Does it work? Does it make me efficient? But what if we also ask, does it feel good to touch? Does it invite me in? A planner should be something you actually want to open every day, not something that feels like a chore. This fabric here reminds me that our systems can carry beauty. They don't have to be purely functional. And maybe that's what makes them sustainable in the long run. We keep returning to what feels nourishing. The shift came when I stopped thinking of a planner as a product to buy and instead as a creative practice. That's where junk journaling comes in. What if my planner wasn't just for appointments, but also for small acts of care? What if I could hold not only deadlines, but also prompts for noticing, breathing, or resting? What if the pages could be as alive and changeable as we are? This is where the idea of my monthly themed signatures came in. Each month a focus connected to well-being. For example, the next month, like for October, I thought we might use the topic of rest with colors and motifs and daily prompts that invite us to pause and restore. But let's get back to our crafting here. I'm using Podge as my adhesive for the fabric cover, brushing it carefully across the cardboard, trying to make sure that it doesn't have any lumps or bumps, otherwise it's seeping through to the fabric. I always start with one side of the cover first, making sure the fabric is stretched flat but not pulled too tightly. Fabric has its own memory and rhythm, and I try to work with it rather than against it. If you've ever tried to force things to line up perfectly, you'll know it usually just wrinkles back at you. And isn't that a bit like life? Sometimes a soft touch works better than pressure. Let's have a look on the other side. I'm adding the spine now, and you see me brushing glue all the way to the edges, gently pressing it down into place. This is the part where I pause and check the alignment. I want the spine straight and the fabric smooth, and in between the spine and the cover, I leave a small gap. These little spaces are what allow the journal to bend and open with ease. Without them, the cover would feel stiff and resistant, and I like thinking of those spaces as breathing room. Every project and every person needs a little space to move. Next comes the second cover. I brush it on here, or I smooth it on here, and I can see I really had a little bit of problems cutting the fabric to size. It just fits. It's a good reminder for you to give yourself a little bit of a wiggle room. You can later cut the fabric down. There is no problem to do this. I find there is something calming about that repetitive smoothing motions. It's a reminder that small, simple gestures can bring order to our surface, even if the underneath is a little bit messy with glue. And I take a moment here to really press it all down, like along the spine here, again from the other side, working the glue into those gaps again. That's what makes this a functional cover, strong but flexible. It's not about perfection, it's about durability and the flow of my crafting here. That sort of then helps me when I'm crafting, and maybe it helps me in my daily life too. I don't need to get everything perfect, but I do want things to hold together well enough to carry me forward. You'll notice I'm not rushing. This part is worth slowing down for, because once the fabric is set, it becomes the foundation for the entire journal. And whatever we add later, the signature, the pockets, the decoration, all of it depends on this first layer being steady and secure. And I find this so grounding. And as I work here on the cover, I can already imagine the pages that will live here. The signatures will be removable and change every month. This cover will hold stories, scribbles, some art and reflections, but also my appointments and my to-do lists. Right now, it's just fabric and glue, but it becomes a safe container, a place that can carry whatever I pour into it. And maybe that's the heart of crafting, creating containers, shapes, or rituals that can hold parts of us. Some of those parts are beautiful and polished, others are raw and unedited, but all of them deserve a place. Just like this journal, we hold ourselves together with flexible spines, soft edges, and a little room to breathe. With the leftover fabric, I would like to add 2 pockets on the inside of my cover, because I always have bits and pieces flying around, and it would be beautiful to have something to hold them. I don't like this little blue spot there, but I think it's easy. I can just fold it over and secure this with a little bit of glue. I think I can do this on both sides. It makes the pocket stronger anyway. And then I will go around it with my sewing machine, I guess. I'm using a tiny bit of art glitter glue just to fold it over and press it down. Of course, I will wait before sewing it with my sewing machine until the glue is really, really, really dry. Otherwise, I would give my sewing machine quite a bit of grief if I'm sewing into the glue while it is still wet. I'm doing the same on the other side, using the pocket from before just to measure the size. No measuring here. I'm just eyeballing it on top of my first pocket. And once everything is dry, I can go over to my sewing machine and attach everything. So, to finish the cover, I stitch around the edges 3 times and then finish with a row of alternating straight and zigzag stitches. I find the stitching is both practical and it adds some decoration. It also adds like stability and durability, keeping the fabric from fraying or lifting off on the edges. But it also, I find, makes the cover more beautiful. The threads create a frame, like a border that says, this has been cared for, it has been attended to. And as I sew, I think about how often We stitch our lives together, not in invisible perfect seams, but in lines that show the places where things were repaired, the efforts to make something stronger, the visible reminders that something has been held together with care. And here, zigzag and straight stitches side by side remind me of the fact that life rarely follows a single pattern. I love the pockets here. They hold all the bits and pieces that we can't attend to straight away. Sometimes we walk a steady line. Sometimes we take a jagged route. But both are part of the whole, I find. And when I look at the stitching on this cover, I don't just see decoration. I see evidence of the process I went through. And I think that's true for all of us. The marks of our process are visible, and maybe that's part of what makes us beautiful. As a next step, I would like to add 4 eyelets for the signatures, because I would like to make it a traveler's notebook style cover so that I can have 2 signatures at each time that are interchangeable, that I can take out at the end of the month and replace with a new one. Here I'm marking where I would like the eyelets to sit, 2 of them, and I made the mistake, it's very tight here for me, so I really have to make the punch, the hole punch here on the seams. That's not ideal. So if you measure your book cover or your journal cover, I really suggest you adding 1/2 inch on top and on the bottom so that you have enough space for your eyelets. I'm pushing the eyelets in. I'm using some that look a little bit vintagey, not black or white, but I don't know the name of the color, like it's like a brownish metallic thing that I really like. I hardly have any left over because I use them most often. I'm using my crocodile to really press the eyelets in on the top, and you can see it's really crooked. It's not even in a straight line, but luckily it is a junk journal, and with that I think I can get away with it. So both sides securely attached, and now we come to the rubber band is not the right, elastic band is the right word. So take a good 2 times the size of your book, a little bit more so that you have space enough to tie a knot. Go through the bottom one to the top one on the outside, and then just here, an easy knot, just a little bit tight so that it can hold the page. Same on the other side. Here you can see, can test the strength, and here they are both in. You can see here my folded paper. This is where the signature will go. Here we go. Oh, I love it. I love it. I can't wait to get the signatures in. Beautiful. So here's where I've landed. A traveler's notebook style cover, stitched from cardboard and fabric, sturdy enough to hold signatures for 2 months at a time. Flexible enough to let me swap things in and out. It's not perfect, but that's the point. This series will be about creating, testing, using, and reflecting. At the end of each month, the finished pages will be bound into a permanent signature with a monthly collage as the cover. And slowly, month by month, I will build a planner that isn't just a tool but a companion, alive, colorful, and deeply connected to well-being. So, this is the beginning. In the next video, I will set up the first signature and explore what really needs to go into a planner like this. After that, we'll use it together in daily life and later reflect on how well it's working.